evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the listening public. Good evening, of course, to the wonderful people here on the island of Nevis, those in St. Kitts, St. Christopher. Good evening to you. Good evening to the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, the rest of the Caribbean. Good evening to the United States, Canada, those of you who are over there in the pond in the United Kingdom. Jackie, if you're listening, I know you tend to stay up late. Good evening to you and to all of those who are joining us here on The Mark. Welcome to another edition of On The Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and tonight we're going to be having a conversation, as we try to do every Wednesday from 8 to 10, 2 hours of commercial-free talk radio. Let me, at the start, extend congratulations to all of those who are celebrating, but also extend commiserations and my sympathies to those who are struggling, whether through loss, if there have been deaths in your family, or for those of you who, of course, are hospitalized. Many at the Alexandra Hospital will listen to the show, and I extend to you my wishes, best wishes for speedy recovery, and it is my hope that we can continue to move from strength to strength. Last week, I think it was, or perhaps the week prior, when I was here, I indicated that I wanted to have with you what I consider to be a very serious conversation. We are in an environment which I call a hyper-political and hypersensitive environment insofar as the politics is concerned. Some say that it is just evidence of how robust our democracy is, and that is fine. There's a lot of noise out there. We have talk shows just like this one and others, and we have call-in programs, we have the social media phenomenon, we have people who are out there who are trying to shape public opinion one way or the other. We have people who are commentators, people who are the activists, people who are the voice of their respective parties, and until the party leadership says differently, then we must assume that they speak for the parties. I have had this show for the past 15 plus years, and there have been times, I believe, when the standard has fallen below what we all would like, because here at Von Radio only the best will do. But I have at every point sought to correct course and to ensure that we always maintain the highest standards. You know why? It is because I understand the power of what we do. I understand the power, the awesome power of being behind this microphone and being able, ladies and gentlemen, to come into your homes via the internet, via radio, to have that conversation, and by so doing to influence and impact the national discussion, the national debate. That is an awesome power, but with it also must come an awesome responsibility. To whom much is given, much is expected. And I have become very concerned. I would say I have become gravely concerned at what is happening with the Nevis Reformation Party on the island of Nevis, and the rhetoric that they appear now to be embracing as their rhetoric. Now, I'm going to go to some research that I did. Has any of you out there heard the name Leon Mugesera? You know who Leon Mugesera was? He was a former politician in Rwanda, and he was recently sentenced to life in prison for inciting genocide. You know what Leon Mugesera did? He gave speech. And in his speech, he referred to the Tutsis, who are a minority group in Rwanda, as cockroaches and scum. And he encouraged the Hutus, the majority group, to kill them. That's what he did. He gave speeches. Then there was a chap called Felician Kabuga. You know what Felician Kabuga did? He set up a radio station in Rwanda as a propaganda machine and engaged in hate rhetoric, calling the Tutsis, again, cockroaches, and encouraging the Hutus to attack Tutsis. This and others engaged in this level of incitement led to the genocide in 1994 in Rwanda that resulted in the deaths in 100 days of over 800,000 Tutsis. Mr. Felician Kabuga recently went on trial before the War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague after he was on the run for nearly 25 years. They finally catch him. What did Felician Kabuga and Leon Mugosera have in common? They use radio, they use the power of language, and they used it for that purpose of getting people and influencing people to do what is wrong. I want us to appreciate that Von Radio has given me a platform here. And over the years, the people who listen at home and abroad understand that they can come here, and from this platform they get reasoned dialogue and debate. They may not agree with me. That is okay. But they understand that on this platform they will get a quality and a level of debate that they can walk away, whether they agree or not, but they walk away with a certain clarity as to what the issues are and what the positions are that have been taken. You're not going to get any rah-rah, any incitement, any of that type on this show. In fact, there have been times when people try to call in with that, and I stop them. I say, no. Don't try to make it a habit of cutting off people, but there are times when you have to say, no. You cannot come on the show with that level. That is not simply not allowed. And that is how we have to approach this as we move forward. And as we go forward from time to time, we have to ensure, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me, but I'm seeking some information here. We have to ensure that we function in a particular way. So I have become concerned. In fact, I have become gravely concerned at what I'm hearing. Now, I'm going to make a confession to you. I don't usually listen to talk shows. In fact, I only listen to even my talk show on occasions when there's something that I want to go back and check. I'm not a big listener of talk shows. I'm busy, I'm doing other things. And so from time to time, people will send me snippets of what is said elsewhere. I have a saying that guides me in my interaction, and I say ignore the noise, because a lot of it is just noise. People who chat because some of them have nothing more to do. Many of them have not gone out to seek lawful employment and work, so they have time on their hands, and all they do is chat. They have no solutions. They criticize everything, and that's a steady diet of negativity. I have no time for that. But it's one thing to be negative. It's one thing to criticize. It's one thing to advocate for the NRP. It's an entirely different thing when you start to hear the rhetoric of violence creeping into our politics. I have been in politics now for nearly 20 years. And prior to me, others were there. We have had difficult times and testy times in our politics. But I have never seen a situation where this party, the Concerned Citizens Movement, has ever engaged in any form of incitement. And that for me is important, ladies and gentlemen, because we must advocate for, and we must get to a point where we in this Queen City, Nevis, we in this Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, our country where peace abounds, we must get to a point where we can engage with each other in a mature way, and even when we disagree and disagree strongly, we need not be disagreeable. You have an opportunity every election cycle to go out and vote for the party of your choice. And the parties have an opportunity every election cycle to go out and campaign and appeal to the people and ask the people for their vote. Between election cycles, each party has the opportunity to go out, register people, do community projects, be at church, be everywhere, try to interact with people and seek to appeal to the people and ask the people for that opportunity. It is not an opportunity that I take for granted. The people of St. John's have been with me from the moment that I stepped into the arena. They continue to be with me. And in the federal parliament, the people of St. Paul's have also been with me. But I do not take it for granted. The point I'm seeking to make is that our democracy, our law, our constitutional framework affords us as political parties and us as politicians an opportunity to come to the electorate, to walk the highways and byways and seek to appeal to the electorate. And it affords equally an opportunity to the electorate to elect in free and fair elections a government of their choice. That is the basis of our democracy. Now, by my tally, we have had some 16 or so elections since 1992 on the island of Nevis. So in the past 30 years, we've had about 16 elections. Since 1992, the NRP of those 16 elections has won one. They have won one, and that was in 2006. We shan't get into the details of that because we understand that there was some shenanigans that happened there, but we'll put that to one side. They came back in 2011 and they declared victory in an election that was fraudulent, and I took them to court and won, created history, won the court case, and we had to go back and do a do-over in 2013 that the CCM won. I say that because part of what is fueling this new rhetoric of violence that is creeping in to the lexicon of the NRP and the public narrative of the NRP is a frustration that they cannot win elections. Now, my friends, if you have the opportunity to be in the race, you're at the start of the 100-meter line, you have trained, you have done all that you need to do, the race is run according to the rules, and you keep coming last, then who are you going to blame? You're going to blame the starter? You're going to say something's wrong with the track? At what point do you accept that the people of Nevis have consistently said 15 out of 16 times by my tally that they prefer the concerned citizens movement? And if the people have consistently said that, it means that you're selling a product that nobody wants to buy. And you have people that you're putting forward who people have no confidence in. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And so we have to get to a point where we start to say, if we can't win, we keep losing, then maybe we need to look at what we're doing and determine whether or not what we're doing makes sense, because sometimes what you're doing is what making you lose. And I have said over and over that if I were in a position of authority within the NRP, the first thing I would have done is take some of these empty vessels off the radio, because they contribute absolutely nothing to the ability of the NRP to appeal to sensible people. I would have taken them off the radio. And I have a concern that the leadership of the NRP, they're now being led by Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. And I have said, because I think the evidence supports it, that Dr. Daniel Hodge is fast asleep. She wakes up from time to time to say something, but she is fast asleep, because I keep wondering, as the leader of a party, how could you have no control over these spokespersons of your party, these shows that are polluting the airwaves every week, and you say nothing? You hear what I tell you about the people from Rwanda? I mentioned them to you. The fact that these individuals use media like radio in order to incite people to do what is wrong, and in the case of Rwanda, led to a genocide. What we say, brothers and sisters, how we say it, has consequences. Now you all may be asking, well, I wonder what Mark Brantley talking about. So I decided to select two clips that I want to play for you tonight. I'm told that there are many more, but I've isolated these two. The first one is a very short clip. I want to play that one first, the shorter clip, because when I heard it, it brought a chill over me. This is a radio program, regular radio program for the NRP, and it has hosts, one Carlisle Powell, who was a former minister, non-elected, one Kelvin Daly, who was a former candidate, soundly beaten, and one fellow they call Tulu, I think his surname is Weeks, who claims to be a pastor. And I want that shorter clip played so that you could hear for yourselves what is being said on public radio by the NRP.
As he presented his rebuttal to the budget by the Prime Minister today. But to listen to this man and watch this man kill a fisheries project for Nevis, and then sat in the parliament and said that he support the federal government to put the fisheries in St. Kitts, and they claim that he's interested in food security. I concluded and I said to my friend, such individuals deserve to be shot.
I think, can you cue that up again for me? Is it possible? Because I want our people to hear. This is this fellow called Pastor Tulu Weeks, who is on a radio program for the NRP. He's a regular person, host of this NRP program. And he's commenting on the debate in the National Assembly in St. Kitts and speaking about comments made in the National Assembly. And I want to play it again because I want the gravity of the situation to come home to my listeners this evening. So let's play it a second time.
As he presented his rebuttal to the budget by the Prime Minister today. But to listen to this man and watch this man kill a fisheries project for Nevis, and then sat in the parliament and said that he support the federal government to put the fisheries in St. Kitts, and they claim that he's interested in food security. I concluded and I said to my friend, such individuals deserve to be shot.
I want, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, for you to take that in. That's why I played it twice. Here's an NRP commentator on live radio, on a regular NRP program, who claims to be a pastor. I don't know what church, but a pastor, saying that he listened to the debate in St. Kitts and alleging that some viewers express that we support a fisheries project on St. Kitts. And he said to his friend that such persons deserve to be shot. I want that to sink in, that such persons deserve to be shot. Nobody corrected him. There was no uproar. You can't say those things. That is not right. Especially in the environment that we now exist here in St. Kitts and Nevis, where we have naturally been talking about the prevalence of gun violence. Here is a spokesperson, an activist, a talk show host for the Nevis Reformation Party. That is what he went on live radio to say about me and about us in the CCM. And one may well say, well, that was just a off-the-cuff comment, is just a one-off comment. But there's a longer clip that I now want to play for you. This is, again, an RP program. This time hosted by the same fella Daly. Hence the Daniel who taught me in school and was a former Deputy Premier of Nevis. And the same pastor, Tulu Weeks. And this longer clip I want to play for you. Now this was now not one of the hosts, but somebody calling into the program.
From Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Daily.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You need to turn down your radio in the back.
Good afternoon. Yes. Good afternoon, Daily. Good afternoon, Daniel. Good afternoon, Tulu.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. The celebrant 41 years of marriage.
I want to know how long we have to put up with this government. I mean, you know, Nevis people been suffering for so long. Ever since this guy came into politics, it's been misery after misery, lie after lie, thief after thief. I mean, he lied his way into politics because everybody know he never voted for the guy
Malcolm
run over here.
Malcolm
and John. Everybody know he never voted in election, and he used the guy name to run and win, you know. And ever since that, it's just pure lie. I mean, we know what Hosier is doing, but we can't wait until Hosier win in court to get this guy out. He has to get out now. We have to get this guy out now. He's destroying Nevis, and we cannot put up with this anymore. I cannot put up with this anymore. You going to take me alone to take him out? I'm going to take all of us in Nevis to take him out.
Appreciate that.
I mean, how long we going to wait until Nevis destroy, and then he run away with all the money from the treasury, all the money from he got from Stinkits? What we going to do? We're going to talk and talk every week. I mean, this is the only country in the world that a man could destroy the country financially, and he still is the premier.
True.
True point.
True.
True point.
What we gonna do? We got so many people online every week, every Saturday, every Thursday, and that's all we're doing is talking. We have to do something. We have to get him out.
Well, if I tell you something,
I'm the only person ready to start a revolution to get him out.
Protest.
I'm ready to join you.
I mean, he used Malcolm's name to get into politics. He never voted for Malcolm. This is the only person that came into politics that turned family against family, friends against friends. We never had this in Nevis before. We had politics in Nevis, and after Christian win, people went back to normal, family went back to family. Ever since this guy came into election, he became the enemy of the people. He's the enemy of Nevis. He don't love Nevis. He don't love Nevis. Can everybody see that? Even if you love him, what he's doing for Nevis is destroying Nevis. He's destroying the people. He's destroying the economy. He's destroying everything.
Yeah, I hear your pain, brother.
I'm the first to start a revolution in Nevis.
Well, so you got to start with the first.
What are you going to take me to start a revolution? Are you going to take me people? And people are guns and guns. This man has to go. He has to get out now. And with what Jose is doing, he's doing good. He's doing great to help the country to get rid of this man. But we can't wait until Cozier. We have to help Cozier. We have to get this man out of Nevis. He's destroying the country.
Well, I'll tell you something.
You guys,
thank you much, caller.
That Mr. Barry?
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, I mean,
He's echoing what we have said, you know, that there needs to be more protests and that kind of thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to just again for you to reflect on what you've just heard. Here's a caller to a program being hosted by one Kelvin Daly, who was a former leader of the NRP for a short period and a former failed candidate of the NRP. Pastor Tulu Weeks and the former Deputy Premier of Nevis, Hensley Daniel. And this caller called in. They referred to him as a Mr. Barry. And he said, that I need to be taken out. They cannot wait for 5 years for another election. And he's willing to start a revolution. And he's asking if it's only he. And then for me, what is most chilling, he says, what is it going to take? People and people, or guns and guns? Because you need to get rid of me. Now, I don't take these things lightly, and the fact that I'm coming here on the radio tonight to share these things with the world is because I am saying where things start is not where they end. We need to put a stop to this now and condemn it now. And I'm calling on Janice Daniel Hodge, the leader of NRP, to rein in these miscreants that she has out there who are putting this notion of violence into our politics. We just had an election in December. The NRP contested the election, the CCM contested the election, and another party, an independent party, MRM, contested the election. Nobody stopped anybody from going out. Nobody stopped anybody from campaigning. The NRP lost. Just as they have lost 14 times before, they lost. And now you hear the supporters unhappy with the fact that they can't convince the Nevision electorate to vote for them and to put them into office in Nevis, have now resorted to this rhetoric. I want you all to listen carefully, you know. You hear what the man say? Week after week we talking and all the people in here talking, but we need now to go beyond the talk. We need to get rid of him. I don't mind what they say about me. I put people against people. I put family. Nobody could put you against your family unless you want to be against your family. So I put all of that in the ignore basket. That is foolishness. How I destroy the economy and I destroy the country and whatever. The evidence is here for all to see. So all who believe that, come to Nevis. Because Nevis right now is shining. Shining. But what you're hearing is that people who have lost all hope of getting into office by the ballot are now advocating violence as a means to get to where they want to go. I started out, my friends, by referring to these criminals in Rwanda who, through their rhetoric on radio, caused the deaths of nearly 1 million people. And I am begging and beseeching the people of Nevis to not let us go down that road. The Jamaicans have a saying, the same knife stick sheep, stick goat. The same knife stick sheep, stick goat. It means that what you intend for somebody and want to do to that person and think you can do to that person and get away may not quite work out that way. Let us not open this Pandora's box. And that is why I'm calling tonight on Janice Daniel Hodge as the leader of the NRP. Talk to your people. I want to hear you condemn that rhetoric. Condemn it, and condemn it unreservedly. You cannot have Tulu, Pastor Tulu, going on radio to say people should be shot. You cannot have your host of this NRP show entertaining callers who are calling in to say he's calling for revolution and he wants to know if it's guns that he needs. Guns! Whenever in the history of this island have we ever heard any talk about guns in our politics? And what I found was instructive. Neither Daly, nor Pastor Tulu, nor Henry Daniel sought to correct that caller. In fact, Henry Daniel's words in the clip, that's what we've been saying all along. We need more protests. Well, if a caller calling for revolution and guns, how are you saying that's what you've been saying all along? When he asks about revolution, who will join me? Pastor Tulu said he will join. These, ladies and gentlemen, are not frivolous matters. And I do not come to you tonight frivolously, because I understand very well where this can lead to. I understand very well where this can lead to. All of us have this precious gift called life that God has given to us. It is uncertain. I used to say here today, gone tomorrow. Now it's here today, gone today. But the minute you see you get on that unruly horse of injecting violence into our politics, there is no guarantee of where that horse will take this beautiful island that we love. And when I realize the level to which people are hungry for power, that they will now inject this talk of violence, of guns, of people being shot into our politics, it tells me that we are going down the wrong road. I can speak for my party, the Concerned Citizens Movement. We are about ideas, we are about debate. Yes, of course, the politics sometimes gets heated in terms of the exchange. But you will never hear from the CCM any talk about violence in our politics. You will never hear any threats against anybody in the NRP. That is not the CCM way. And if Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge is awake tonight, I want somebody to convey the message to her if she's not listening. This is not good enough. You have come, you now have tremendous responsibility. The people of St. James have voted for you. You are leading a political party. And you have a responsibility as a leader to set the tone and to insist that those who purport to be your spokespeople maintain that tone. I am not going to get into the hosts them, because I think everybody know them. My view is that they are one of the main reasons why CCM continues to win. But that is for NRP. My simple point is this: that until the leader of NRP and the leadership of NRP condemns this rhetoric and this behavior that is being exhibited and engaged in on public radio by their spokespersons, by their talk show hosts, then we have to conclude that the leadership supports this call for violence in our politics. And I am urging the leader of the NRP to come out and condemn it unreservedly. Just as I, on behalf of the CCM, am prepared to condemn any hint of violence in our politics unreservedly, I think she, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel, has a similar obligation. These are not trivial matters. We don't know who might be out there listening, who could be influenced. That is what the people in Rwanda did. They got on their radio station. They start to attack the Tutsis. They call them cockroaches and scum. And therefore, they created a climate where those who were like them, Hutus, felt that it was okay to go and attack and kill innocent people. Violence, my friends, cannot be the way for the NRP to get into government in Nevis. It cannot be the way. We have for 40 years of independence in this country changed governments by the ballot. No government in the history of St. Christopher and Nevis has ever been changed by the bullet. It has always been government by the ballot. Democracy. That is why we can stand 40 years on and say that we are a proud democratic nation under God, because we have always sought to change governments and elect governments through a process of the ballot. One man, one vote, allowing people the opportunity to vote in accordance with the rules. And at the end of the day, their voice is the voice of God. But there are some who cannot persuade the people to vote for them. This last election in December, NRP did better than they and all expected. We had 4 seats going in. We lost 1 seat, St. James, by 8 votes. We accepted that. We won the government. We have a smaller in terms of margin of seats, but we still won the popular vote. It means, therefore, that the majority of voters across the island favor CCM, and then the majority of seats also came to CCM. Just prior to that, 5 months prior in August, the CCM swept the federal seats and won all 3 federal seats for the second time, because we did the same thing in 2020. The people are speaking, and it has to be people who are either deaf or otherwise impaired, who aren't and cannot listen to the message that the people are sending. The people are saying, let me use some colloquialism, them no want you. That's what the people keep telling you. Them no want you. And if the people no want you can't expect to force you way onto the people through illegitimate, illegal and criminal means. That's the point. You must go back and see what is your message and who are your messengers and how you can better appeal to the people of Nevis. That is what you ought to do. But instead of that, one of your hosts is calling for people to be shot, and a caller is calling in and talking about revolution and guns and taking out people, and none of you are prepared to correct that. I am appalled by this, and I well know that this is not all, because others have sent other clips to me. I decided to use these 2 tonight. It has to stop, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not going to pretend that it's not happening. There's a level of hostility that has been engendered here on the island of Nevis. Somebody said to me that every time you see NRP people, they look vexed. Face push up. I went to an event today, and I looked around and I saw a particular lady. And the lady used to be a good looking lady. And I say used to be because she faced so vexed that the good look she used to have looked like they've disappeared. And I said to my colleague who was there with me, I said, Lord, watch this woman's face. Vexed face twist up. Like you need an iron to iron out she face, how she face twist up. Because I am there. What have I ever done to her? Not a thing. I don't know that we've ever had any argument or any falling out. As a matter of fact, it's somebody that I had tremendous respect for. But face, when I tell you twist up, you need one of them old goose. That they can't iron out with regular iron. You need a goose to press out she face. And I said, but where's this vitriolic venom coming from? Where? And I'll tell you where it's coming from. It's coming from these talk shows. It's coming from this dialogue and rhetoric that is out there, that people now feel whoever Mr. Barry is feels emboldened to call in, and I know who he is, calling in from New York, feels emboldened to call in to say that he gonna start revolution because they can't wait 5 years. You hear that? You hear that? They cannot wait 5 years. So if you can't wait 5 years, you know what you're saying? That you can't wait on the electoral process. What we're going to have in Nevis, a coup? Is that what we're encouraging? We're going to have a coup because we want to remove the government? You're trying to woo a young lady. The young lady is not interested in you. You keep coming with your gifts and your chocolate and your bottles of wine, and the young lady say, Lord, me no want you. What you gonna do? Try to force yourself on the young lady? try to engage in criminality? Because this is what is happening here. And if I sound passionate about it, it is because I am indeed passionate about it. Because I go back to what I said earlier, where things start is not where they're going to end. Ladies and gentlemen, don't take these matters lightly. I do not know what God's plan for me is. As I said, we're here today, we're gone today. I could be here this minute and gone the next. I don't know what is in store for any of us. I am not a soothsayer. I'm not a fortune teller. But what I can say is that this little island called Nevis and this wider federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, there can be no room whatsoever for violence, the threat of violence, the rhetoric of violence in our body politic. We never know who out there would be influenced because of what we say to do what was done in Rwanda and to go and shed innocent blood. I use the example of Rwanda because what medium did they use? Radio. Here we have this internet radio. And I'm telling you now, I have reported these two incidents to the police. And I'm going to go further and report them to the NTRC, I think it's called, that issues licenses for people to operate. Because the radio stations themselves have also an obligation to ensure that this type of rhetoric is not on their airwaves. That their platform is not being used to encourage people to commit crime and criminality. Let us, ladies and gentlemen, debate. Let us disagree if we must. But it can never be that we encourage people to shoot people, or we encourage anybody to take anybody out, or we encourage anybody to take up guns and have revolution in the country. A country that is so peaceful, a country that has such a healthy respect for the rule of law, a country where people could go on radio and say all they want about the government, nobody coming to look for you. A country where peace abounds. And here you have these empty vessels, these empty barrels, these clanging cymbals, going on radio every day with this rhetoric, a rhetoric of vitriol, of lies, of attack. And now that rhetoric is headed to its logical conclusion, violence. And you're hearing it for yourself. I would want this day, the 27th day of September, in the year of our Lord 2023, to be the day that people say Mark Brantley went on radio and he sounded the alarm. Mark Brantley went on radio and he sounded the alarm. And I am not being dramatic when I say that, because where things start is not where they end. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. We are just about 8:46 and we're going to take your calls. The numbers are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I believe I have put on the table a very important topic, and I invite your calls on that. Of course, if you have other matters you would wish to discuss, then you're free to call and discuss those as well. While we wait for the phones to ring, let me just indicate that tomorrow at 10 a.m. we will have a special sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly to commemorate the 40th anniversary of independence. And I invite you to attend if you can, and to tune in if you cannot. Let's go to the phones and take some calls. Good evening, you're On the Mark. Hello?
Good evening, Miss Sheriff.
Good evening to you. How are you?
Leave everything to God.
Yes.
They can't do you nothing. Psalm 37 verse 23 and 24 The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighted in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord uphold him with his hand. Good night, me sheriff. I love you, love. And I got people stupid card them tell me how me love you. That's me business what me do. When me phone bill come, let them pay them. I love you, love you, love you. Left everything to God. God going to war deal with. Sometimes people say they're going to shot people and they turn on shot them own self. And that's all me go tell you. Talk to Jesus and Jesus can take you through. Good night.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your call. Thank you for your love. I love you too. Thank you for your encouragement. And I just really want our people to understand that politics is what it is. It ought to be an exchange of ideas. It ought to be a competition of ideas. In our context, it is usually a competition of personalities as well. If you have a product that people are not willing to buy, change your product or change your salesman. It's as simple as that. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hey, good evening, my premier.
Good evening,
What's going on, man?
I'm good, thanks.
I see you, man. You're down, you're so back tonight. Could let them know how you feel, man.
Thanks a million, brother. How are things with you?
Hey, good, and just how you say tonight, too. I was in a situation here December, right? And we election here in St. Croix, too. My own people, and because who me stand for, they want to put me down to bow. Me background, they can't stop me. Yeah, they want to get me out, too. Man threaten me, even my own family come across. No about things, and he telling me somebody want to do me this bow. Me tell him when they ready come, man, because I was ramping for the election, and they didn't like how I went down. I got me roach plan of spraying roach, but they didn't like it. But that's how we go here too. So watch yourself and just stay strong. That's all you got to do. Eat the heart out. They feel biased. You're running the country, and the NRP can't run it that way. And two, the same lady you call up there, calling him tonight. She said when I come near this, because I said me don't want to vote for she gonna watch me, she will put a liar to write me. Me not call on him.
Well, nobody can write you any lawyer because of who you vote for, so I wouldn't even bother with that.
Yes, but they tell you, me don't get it talking before me reach up. Yeah, right. They want cause they don't hear me, don't go on, you check? But me not study them, me a ban everything, clean everything. So when they ready, let it come. When they went out on Nevis, when me go home, they wasn't home. They want to come back and want to run. We tell them go back where they come from too. Simple.
All right. Okay, brother.
So
thank you.
Strong, brethren.
Yeah,
hold your tool, hold up strong. All right. Respect.
All right. Thank you for the call. Really appreciate it. We're taking your calls. Let's go back to the phones. I think we have another caller. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable Mark Brantley.
Good evening to you.
And good evening to the listeners home and abroad. Carl Brown here. The Honorable Mark Brantley, could you give us an update on how far we are with geothermal? Because last month when the federal government celebrated the first year as a government, I heard the Honorable Congress Maynard say $17 million is put forth for geothermal, and in 2 years we should have the geothermal to where we want it to share between St. Kitts and Nevis and then abroad. The other thing is, as we celebrate 40 years of independence, I think it's time now we come from under the king, that we now proceed for the next 5 years to move to the Republic State of St. Kitts and Nevis. We had so many years under a king, then we had almost 100 years under Her Majesty, and now we have years under another king. It is time now that we leave the monarchy and move forward to become, within the next 5 years, the Republic of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I think it's time now forward that we push forward for that. After 40 years of independence under the Queen, and now under a king. So I would like to hear your thoughts on that. Go on, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much, caller. The first issue on geothermal, in fact, I spoke on that at my press conference, which was just yesterday, just to indicate that we are still in the bidding process. The first round of bids did not go as we would have liked, and so the CDB and NEVLEC, who are leading the charge, have gone back in relation to identifying certain companies that can do the work and inviting them to bid. The Honorable Congress Maynard is correct that we are working very closely together, federal government and the NIA. This is a national project, and the objective is to bring geothermal energy for the benefit of all of the people of the Federation, St. Kitts and Nevis. The resource is located here in Nevis, but Nevis is part of the country, and the intention is that everybody in this country should benefit from cleaner, cheaper energy. We will have a more comprehensive update once I have an opportunity to consult with the people who are leading the charge in relation to this. And so I hope to come back in due course, as I said yesterday when I gave a press briefing here in Nevis in my monthly press conference. You talk about moving to a republic. Those are matters for public debate and discussion. I believe that I have said publicly that I see no value in moving from the king as the head of state to a president as head of state if there will be no change, and what we're moving is one figurehead and changing one figurehead for another. I don't see that there's any value in that. I think that the country has more important issues that need to be tackled, and that we should spend our resources and our time and energy tackling those fundamental issues. I don't know how a republican system as opposed to a monarchy, a constitutional monarchy, is going to affect the cost of living. It's going to create jobs. It's going to lead to a reduction in crime and violence. It's going to lead to better rapport between our people and our political parties, a greater peace in the country. I don't know how it's going to lead to any of those things. So for me, it is an exercise in window dressing, and I don't believe that we should expend money just to dress up the window. If there's a fundamental change that is proposed, then that's something that I would like to hear. There's 5 minutes to the hour of 9. We continue with your calls. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello.
Hi.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good night, Mr. Brantley.
Good night.
Good night. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
All right, I want to read a scripture here, and then I want to speak to that situation you spoke about a little earlier on there. Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it?" And this is a profound statement. Now, Mr. Brantley, they have some people there, I mean, you know, they're against you. But they fail to realize that a God put you there. The Bible says God set up and God put down. And I want to assure you that in all what they may say and do, man, nobody can move from there. Not until God say that it's time for you to go. Mr. Brantley, this is a very, two serious statement. One is a pastor saying that you should be shot. When a lot of these men, man, they are wolf in sheep clothing, and call us the pastor. And that is a serious statement. This man owe you an apology. If he says a pastor, he need to come on national radio and say he's sorry, because he's inciting, he's peddling violence. That's what he's doing. And you cannot take this thing lightly, Mr. Brantley. Now, the other guy who says he wants to start a revolution, let me tell you, this man, and I'm happy that you say you know him, this man must be monitored. And anytime he set foot in Nevis, he must be monitored, because according to his statement, He talking about a revolution. He said, you got to go. So he says to me, anytime this man put foot in St. Kitts and Nevis, he's coming to start a revolution. He's coming to gather up his men. Henry Daniel and others stay there. Achoo. And support this man.
I'm glad you heard him.
Yeah, Henry Daniel, support this man. Man, I don't understand this. That these fellows want to put down a man that the people elected, a man that God set up. Man, that's craziness. That's craziness, man. And you cannot take this thing lightly. No, I mean, yes, we got to leave it to God, but then God put you there to take care of things. You cannot take this thing lightly, Mr. Brantley. This is a serious threat. I repeat, anytime this man put his foot in St. Kitts and Nevis, he must be monitored. There must be a surveillance on him, because you don't know what you're coming to do. You got to watch this man. The other thing I want to talk about quickly here, Mr. Brantley, is the discussion you and Cleon had, and which was very, very informative. And as a leader, Mr. Brantley, you are leading. You are a leader. Now, I know a lot of these spin doctors, they're going to spin this and say all kind of things. But I love the vibe. This is how, leaders do things. Bringing people together, listening, working together. But these fellows there, these unhappy fellows, Henry Dundar and a whole bunch of them, these fellows are, they like an old horse that in a race and can't win the race, and now they put aside and they try to come back, to make, they would never ever, not even smell a seat in the race. Again, these fellows out. And so I want to encourage you, Mr. Brantley, I'm praying for you, that God will guide you, God will protect you, and God will scatter your enemies, because He set you up there. And as I said to you, you will only move when God say your time is up. Mr. Brantley, God bless you, and have a good night.
Thank you, caller. I didn't interrupt you because I thought that what you were saying was so important, so eloquently expressed, so clearly expressed, that all of us can understand the sentiment. And I thank you very much for your call and for the sentiments that you have expressed. We have to protect our democracy. We shouldn't take it for granted. The work of our national heroes. Tomorrow we're going to go into the Parliament here in Nevis for a special sitting to do what? Celebrate our independence. We cannot squander that because people are so hungry for power. Hungry for power. You can't persuade the electorate. So now you're talking about changing government through revolution, through guns, through people being shot. Let's go back to the phones. Okay, we've lost that caller. Caller, please call back. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. We, ladies and gentlemen, must not take for granted what we have. You must not take for granted, because the minute you stop protecting what you have is the time that you lose it. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Premier Brantley.
Good evening to you.
I want to ask you, you're being very passionate tonight in your soliloquy, and I want to ask you one question. Are you ready to resign from politics? Okay, you can answer afterwards.
Okay.
But why I ask you that question, because every week you come on the radio and you give so much information as to how to go about winning an election. You're giving your opponent all the positive and the reasons that in order to go about winning an election, to winning you. but they are not listening. They remind me of a text in the scripture where this guy went to Jesus and said, "Rich young ruler, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And the master speak unto him and tell him what he must do. And he said that he went away grieved. You know, I believe that you are telling them the truth. You are telling them what to do in order to win an election. So it seemed to me like they're ready to leave. Anyway, good night. Have a pleasant night.
Thank you very much for that, caller. I have just been elected to a second term, thanks to the people of Nevis. They elected not just me, but the CCM team. Not just only gave us the majority of seats, they also gave us the popular vote. We are only less than 1 year into the new term, so we have another 4.5 years to go. So it's not that I am looking to retire, but my country and my island that I love so much is bigger than me, it's bigger than all of us. And the island of Nevis and the country of St. Kitts and Nevis actually benefits if we have our politics at a stage where we can engage with each other in a civil way. We can engage with each other as brothers and sisters, even though we don't support the same party. I came on this radio station with the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons. Cleon and I don't agree to the same political principles. Cleon fought a battle against the Concerned Citizens Movement in December of last year. She was able to win her individual battle in the parish of St. Thomas's, Nevis 5. I fought a battle against Cleon Stapleton Simmons and against the NRP. And if I had my way, the CCM would have won all the seats in Nevis. The people of Nevis spoke. They said 2 for NRP, 3 for CCM. Their voice is the voice of God. Cleon Stapleton called me and asked me, would you be willing to come on my show, her show, to discuss 40 years of independence and where we're going, where we've been and where we plan to go. And I thought about it. And I said, you know, I am the premier for all of Nevis, not some. I am the premier for those who voted for CCM and those who voted for NRP. It is my duty to function in such a way and to show our people that we are not petty people, that we have the capacity to engage in a respectful way, even though we don't share the same political ideology. And that is why I came. And that is why I sat. And for an hour we had a conversation, not cussing. I am now in front to feel that Cleon Stapleton Simmons agreed with everything that I said. She certainly can never expect that I would agree with everything that she says. But the optic of us sitting together and having a conversation, she being in opposition politically to me and I being in opposition politically to her, I think it sent a message that I wanted to send. And I commend her for inviting me. Do you know, caller, that this situation in St. Kitts and Nevis has got so bad, although I have not heard anybody in St. Kitts trying to inject violence as the NRP Nevis is trying to do. But the situation has got so bad that when I, in my capacity as Premier of Nevis, have the occasion to meet with the Honorable Terence Drew, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we engage with each other, people blue vex. Some people are blue vex that the Premier of Nevis and the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis are engaging. Because as far as they're concerned, we must be at war. We must be at each other's throats. We must not demonstrate any maturity. And I am saying that it makes our country stronger. It makes our country better if we can at all levels appreciate that politics is a contest of ideas. It's a contest of ideas. It is looking at who is being offered, seeing what their ideas are, and saying, do I have the confidence in those individuals to take this island and this country forward? That is what politics should be about. All this cussing and attacking people and getting personal with people and all of that, it should not be what our politics is about. Don't get me wrong. The politics has its pecan, as they call it. A man comes at you, he says something, you come at him, the audience laugh, etc. So there's that element to the politics, and I accept that. But it should not be vitriolic and based on venom and hatred, because venom and hatred and vitriol only leading us to one place. When you start to be vitriolic and venomous to people, you start to call them all kind of names and seek to diminish them. It leads firstly to disrespect. That is why when I went to this place today, this woman twisted up her face like she see Jumbie. Twist up her face. That call, I don't know if you know what a goose is, but she face couldn't iron out with an ordinary iron. A goose you had to take. Now, once you have got to the stage of disrespect and derision for people, the next step of doing them harm becomes very easy, because you have dehumanized them. So go back to my Rwanda example where I started. They started out on the radio. Oh, these people are cockroach. Cockroach. And once they start to spread that rhetoric of hate, of venom, of vitriol, of calling the people cockroaches, saying therefore they should be destroyed, it became very easy for neighbor to kill neighbor, because the people had been dehumanized. And that is exactly my fear. And that's why I'm not come here lightly tonight. I could have come and just talked about the special sitting tomorrow and what we hope to achieve by commemorating our 40th anniversary of independence, etc. I could have come to do that, but I said no. I mentioned last week that I was concerned, and this week I wanted to bring the evidence. I wanted people to hear for themselves what was being said and what was passing, and the fact that none of the hosts of these shows, all of whom are key people within the NRP, in fact I think at one point Hensley Daniel was chairman of the NRP, have condemned. In fact, they are heard actively to be encouraging the rhetoric. And the leader of the NRP, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, has not said a word. She may say she was asleep, but that's no excuse. Whenever she wakes up, I want somebody to tell her, Doc, this is not acceptable. Nevis has never, ever, ever in its history had this talk of violence on our airwaves as part of our body politic, as part of our political debate. It has not happened before. Let us not encourage it. Let us, in one voice, condemn it and say that is not for us. We are approaching 1/4 the hour. I know some people have just joined the show, because I'm getting some messages and some people don't seem to know what we're talking about because they just joined the show. I'm going to ask the technician here if she's able to pull up those two clips again. The first shorter clip is from a public radio program, an NRP program, and this program is hosted by Carlisle Powell, a former junior minister, unelected, Kelvin Daly, a former leader of NRP and failed candidate, and one Pastor Tulu Weeks. And this is the voice of that Pastor Weeks on that radio station, talking about a debate in the National Assembly where he accused me and the CCM of taking a position that he did not agree with. And this is what he said.
As he presented his rebuttal to the budget by the Prime Minister today. But to listen to this man and watch this man kill a fisheries project for Nevis, and then sat in the parliament and said that he support the federal government to put the fisheries in St. Kitts, and they claim that he's interested in food security. I concluded and I said to my friend, such individuals deserve to be shot.
Such individuals deserve to be shot. That is a pastor here in Nevis, on radio. As I said, I don't know what church he goes to, but I don't know what Bible in the Christian religion, and that's the only Bible that I know of, talks about people being shot because of a difference in political opinion. And so I'm not going to get into any debate about the church, because the church continues to do excellent work here on the island of Nevis. The church continues to pray for all of us wayward sinners. But when somebody who's supposedly of the cloth would go on radio to say that, I have to be concerned. What if I were to go to whatever church and he's the preacher? Should I be concerned? You see, we have to think about these things. The second clip is somebody called a Mr. Barry, who's calling in from overseas. And he's calling into a program being hosted by the same Pastor Weeks, Hensley Daniel, the former Deputy Premier of Nevis and Chairman of the NRP, and Kelvin Daly, past leader of NRP and failed candidate for the NRP. Please take a listen.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon, Daly.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You need to turn down your radio in the back.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Daly. Good afternoon, Daniel. Good afternoon, Tulu.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, the celebrant. 41 years of marriage.
I want to know how long we have to put up with this government. I mean, Nevis people been suffering for so long. Ever since this guy came into politics, it's been misery after misery, lie after lie, thief after thief. I mean, he lied his way into politics, because everybody know he never voted for the guy Malcolm run over there, Malcolm and John. Everybody know he never voted in the election, and he used the guy name to run and win, and ever since that it's just pure lie. I mean, we know what Hosier is doing, but we can't wait until Hosier win in court to get this guy out. He has to get out now. We have to get this guy out now. He's destroying Nevis, and we cannot put up with this anymore. I cannot put up with this anymore. You going to take me alone to take him out? Are you going to take all of us in Nevis to take him out?
Appreciate that.
I mean, how long we going to wait until Nevis destroy, and then he run away with all the money from the treasury, all the money he got from Stinkits? What are we going to do? We're going to talk and talk every week? I mean, this is the only country in the world that a man could destroy the country financially, and he still is the premier.
True.
True point.
True.
True point.
What are we going to do? We got so many people online every week, every Saturday, every Thursday. And that's all we're doing is talking. We have to do something. We have to get him out.
Well, if I tell you something,
I'm the only person ready to start a revolution to get him out.
Protest.
I'm ready to join you.
I mean, he used Malcolm's name to get into politics. He never voted for Malcolm. This is the only person that came into politics that turned family against family, friends against friends. We never had this in Nevis before. We had politics in Nevis, and after CCM win, people went back to normal, family went back to family. Ever since this guy came into election, he became the enemy of the people. He's the enemy of Nevis. He don't love Nevis. He don't love Nevis. Can everybody see that? Even if you love him, what he's doing for Nevis is destroying Nevis. He's destroying the people. He's destroying the economy. He's destroying everything.
Yeah, I hear your pain, brother.
I'm the first to start a revolution in Nevis.
Well, so you gotta start with the first.
What are you going to take me to start a revolution? Are you going to take me people? And people are guns and guns. This man has to go. He has to get out now. And with what Jose is doing, he's doing good. He's doing great to help the country to get rid of this man. But we can't wait until Cozier. We have to help Cozier. We have to get this man out of Nevis. He's destroying the country.
Well, I'll tell you something.
You guys,
Thank you much, caller.
That Mr. Barry?
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, I mean,
He's echoing what we have said, that there needs to be more protest and that kind of thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're 20 past the hour of 9 o'clock. I decided to play those two clips again and for the final time because, as I said, some people were messaging to say they had not heard them. I hope you have now heard them. Because in one clip, a pastor, Tulu Weeks, is calling on us to be shot because he doesn't agree with the position he claims that we took in the federal parliament. And in the other clip, a man identified as a Mr. Barry, calling in from overseas, is asking for revolution and to take me out because he can't wait another 5 years. And he asked the question, very chilling question, what do we need? People and people? Guns and guns? And said that he's ready to start a revolution. I do not think that these matters should be taken lightly. This is the NRP. This is a major political party on the island of Nevis. And this is their rhetoric on their radio station, on their programs. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Caller, please call back in. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call, and I invite you to call and share your view. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Brantley. Good night.
Good night, you're on the air.
Well, I tell you, wow. It's bad. That's bad. But anyway, they didn't go ahead. They forget what happened up Grenada with Maurice Bishop. Oh, they forget. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to read the scripture. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Corrupt are they, and have done abominable iniquity. There is none that doeth good. God looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand, that did seek God. Every one of them is gone back. They are altogether become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Have the workers of iniquity no knowledge? Who eat up my people as they eat bread? They have not called upon God. There were they in great fear, where no fear was. For God has scattered the bones of him that encamped against them. Against thee. Thou hast put them to shame, because God had despised them. And here ended the reading of the scripture. And Mr. Brantley, you're doing a good job. And they don't like to see people do things good. And they like liars, and you are not one of them. Okay? So you just continue praying, and God will take care of you. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. You hear me? But you can't take these things lightly, just as you said, and everybody's saying. Okay? Have a good night, you and your family here.
Thank you kindly. Thank you so very much. We're taking your calls. Thank you for that call and that scripture, caller. I think it's important that we have this discussion because, as I said, I'm hopeful that after tonight, I want to hear from the leader of NRP, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, condemning these statements. And I want those radio stations that are allowing their platform to be abused in this way to stop these reckless clanging cymbals and empty barrels from this noise that they're making. And I want the hosts of these programs to understand that this type of rhetoric and behavior is unacceptable. Carlisle Powell, Hensley Daniel, Pastor Tulu Weeks, Kelvin Daly, this is unacceptable behavior. And we cannot encourage violence and violence rhetoric in our society. Mr. Barry, there in New York, I hope you're listening. This is unacceptable behavior. We cannot encourage it to enter into our politics and into our discussions here on the island of Nevis. We change governments in Nevis by the ballot, not by the bullet. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
It's good to hear your voice. I listened, and for a while I haven't called it. I'm calling out of station.
Oh, it's good to hear you, brother. How are you?
Good. I listened, but I didn't hear these clips. I heard you last week, but now I hear these clips. My. I wonder what we are coming to. And I would say this, for me as a person, each of us have our own political persuasion. But I think we need to understand that elections are won at the poll. And it is sad to hear these kind of things. However, I would agree with you in the sense that the leaders of the NRP, in my humble opinion, because it will cast a dark shadow over the party if their leaders look at the matter, listen to it carefully, and realize, well, it is casting a dark shadow, and even maybe worse than it would be, to make sure that they let the country know, let people know that they distance themselves from such comments, such behavior. And I would want to think that in broadcasting, like Van Radio would put it, the views of the people on their programs are not the views of, well, necessarily the views of the radio station, so they don't hold themselves responsible or get in trouble for comments people will make. It is really sad. But however, I'll tell you this, in cricket, the good batsmen will always tell you, play on the front foot. Keep on the front foot. You're doing what you have been called to do, and as I put it, as it is put, God takes up. God put up, and He takes down. And when that time comes that you will be removed, let it be that the people go to the polls and they would say, we don't want Mr. Brantley, we don't want CCM anymore. Nevertheless, all the best. Do what you're doing. And you're in my prayers. I am convinced that you're trying your uttermost best to do the best you can. Not for yourself, but for the country. Keep on. I wish you all the best and the entire party. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Stay strong.
Thank you, brother. And I pray all is well in Statia with you and the family and all of our brothers and sisters from St. Kitts and Nevis Day in Statia. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello, good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Again.
Yes.
The situation with these comments, we are questioning how the manager, shareholders, and operator of this radio station feeling for the last 2 weeks or so hearing these comments on their radio station. And the other thing is, all those of the NRP leaders, respective parliamentarians and caretaker candidates should have a press conference and denounce these kind of things and let the people and the world know that this is not the stance of NRP, but up to now they haven't said a word. Not a word they have said denouncing this kind of rhetoric. And that is not how you win government, by the bullet. You will win it by the ballot. And if you can't encourage and get enough voters to win the government, that's how you want to take the government? By revolution? That's not how we do it here in St. Kitts Nevis, right? We do it by the ballot, and they are to denounce this thing, and I hope they will have a press conference and denounce this, and I hope the owners, shareholders, and all those who partake in that radio station would also denounce this thing and have a meeting with those people who host the show and let them know that these are the rules and regulations, which in the night already, but they're not following it. But I think they should give them something in black and white, that this is what is allowed and what is not allowed. Because, I mean, we are not accustomed to these sort of things. We don't allow these things. We don't promote these things. We promote by the ballot and heavy campaigning and good programs and policies. That's how we win election. But you know how it is, right? They can't beat the sheriff by the ballot. They can't beat the sheriff by the polls. And they think the way is to beat the sheriff is by revolution. But we all know the sheriff and CCM would not have any part of that. So we are asking the leaders, caretakers, we are asking the radio station and their owners, are you pleased to have a press conference and denounce this? Because if I let this run any longer, it shows what you all stand for. And I hope NRP supporters will encourage their leaders and caretakers to take a stand and denounce this, because I know a lot of NRP supporters is not standing for this, and that is not the thing. I go on the boss.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm getting quite a few messages. Not everybody is going to call, but this person has sent a message. They say, "Good night, Mr. Brantley. I'm so sorry to hear the rhetoric of the past weeks. As a child of the Most High, I sincerely apologize. I'm saddened by such a representation of Christ. I am so sorry." I read that out because people are listening and people do not like this type of thing. It is not what we stand for. It is not what we as Nevisians and Kittitians. And so, Mr. Brown, I want to echo your sentiments. That's not how we do things here. We read about those things and hear about those things elsewhere. Not in St. Kitts and Nevis, not after 40 years. If you can't appeal to the electorate because they don't want to buy what you're selling, they have no confidence in you, then you need to change your message and change your messengers. It's as simple as that. Let's go back to the phones. Take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Those statements are obviously regrettable, but I want to pull you off topic a bit.
Sure.
In your press conference of recent times, you mentioned something about the geothermal, and it's a part of my head. You mentioned that it would require something like 1 million gallons a day to operate. Is that number correct?
No, not to operate. It is during the drilling phase. They're saying that the drills, because of course they're drilling thousands of feet into the Earth's crust.
Yeah.
And so to cool the drills, they will require quite significant quantities of water.
1 million gallons per day?
Over 1 million, because we just got a revised figure today. So that will be the requirement. I think the figure I saw today was closer to 2 million gallons. But that is just for the drilling period, not for the operating of the plant thereafter. So once we can access that water, once that drilling period is over.
Has got that quantity of water to spare?
Well, Nevis, based on the mapping that we've recently done, yes, we do have water. It's just a question now of having additional wells dug, and we intend to embark on that process very shortly. We have just completed a new map. I don't know the proper language, geological perhaps, but whatever the mapping is, to find the water and to tell us exactly where to drill to get the maximum benefits from the aquifers. So we have identified, I believe, as many as 4 or 5 sites where we're going to drill very shortly. Public Works is now finalizing the documents for the bidding process on that drilling.
Oh, the geothermal thing is going to turn out to be pretty expensive, man.
Well, it is expensive, but look at the option. Do we continue to buy and burn fossil fuel? Because fossil fuel is creeping up in price again. Currently, our people are paying over 40 cents per kilowatt hour, US cents per kilowatt hour for fossil fuel. Geothermal is promising to come in at somewhere at 9 cents.
Yeah.
So the difference is, so the question is, do we spend the money up front and get a product that's going to last for the next 40, 50 years and power the whole of St. Kitts and Nevis? What if we could tell our people tomorrow that your electricity bill gone from 40 cents a kilowatt hour down to 9 cents? What does that do in terms of transforming the economy, allowing us now to support tourism with electric transportation, electric cars, electric scooters, allowing all of our air conditioning and all of that to be via geothermal renewable energy, satisfying our climate commitments. All of these, I think, are very important initiatives. We also can now think about industry developing around that uses large amounts of cheap energy. We can think about things like green ammonia, hydrogen. There's so many possibilities that open up for us. I see in fact this becoming more important than tourism, more important than citizenship by investment. If we can do it right, we can become the Norway of the Caribbean, except that we would be exporting clean energy rather than fossil fuel energy.
Okay. Yeah, just concerned about that water. So you have to be purchasing desalting plants and that kind of thing to get that volume of water.
Right. But remember, as I said, that is a short-term need. It's not as if going forward you're going to have that requirement for the life of the project. This is during the drilling phase. They've said that they need this water. I think it's to cool the drill bits.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the call, and happy to clarify. Let's stick with the telephones and take some more calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes. Good evening to you.
The only geothermal plant in the Caribbean is in Guadeloupe. Have you ever visited, asked the team to visit the geothermal plant in Guadeloupe?
I have not visited, but members of the team have visited. I have not done so personally.
Okay.
I think it's in an area called Bouillon. Have you been there? Have you been to the plant?
Of course, I've been there more than once.
Okay.
There's a beach they make from the warm water.
Okay.
From the geothermal plant, and it attracts a lot of people there.
So it's almost like the hot bath?
Yeah, it's almost like a hot bath.
Okay.
The hot sea water, you get hot sea water rather than fresh water, you know?
Okay, okay. Uh-huh.
And the second thing, I mean, I want to talk about Carbone Point. I heard you talk about, before I heard you talk about American thing, but Nevis is a place that set a record with punishment from slavery. Next year next year, going to make 400 years since we've been under European colonialism. And the psychology of being free from these European domination is something that is owed to our people, our ancestors. You might not see it because of your right-wing politics, but it's something psychologically due to our people. So we could get at one day and say we're not under no more European rule and control. And that is one of the things I think that we need to get over, because Barbados, it was not symbolic. It meant something psychological for the Barbados people. And for those in Jamaica who are aspiring for the same thing too.
So you think it means something psychological, you say?
Of course, and it is psychological. It has to do with our liberation. Mm-hmm. Because if one day we get on and say we are no longer controlled from England, like how now we are being controlled from Miami. We want to be free people. One day, it is 400 years. In 1834, they say we were free.
Well, Carl, help me to understand. You said now we're being controlled from Miami?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
The CIA controls St. Kitts and Nevis. And because 2 weeks ago, you know, that's why I laugh when I hear this violence thing. 2 weeks ago, and I call you on your program and tell you about we need a commission inquiry into the police force, because the CIA were using the police force with the violence instinct. It was y'all don't want to hear those facts because y'all depending right-wing politics. And there are a lot of victims. Norway was a victim of political violence, and a lot more. Norway, if I stay behind and you was a next man to do the killing, that means it is not me do it. There's a lot of more violence is being in the politics. You see, the Venezuelan embassy was burned down. You think that's politics. Don't think about we had no violence in politics. Violence in politics since in 1967. Violence in politics, and it never stopped. The secret hands were performing a lot of these work. I was forced into exile. I had to give up my $2,000 job from thing because they tried to kill me. And you're telling me about because they say I was sent to Douglas. You know, tell me that no violence in this politics in St. Kitts. I was forced out of my country. I have to live in exile. Here they tried to kill me still because I had a program on the radio for 14 months and exposing the wickedness. And how much time? Under you watch Mr. Brantley, they sent the Coast Guard down here to go to try with a bunch of hitmen in 2019. Under you watch.
Under my watch, you say?
When you was foreign minister of foreign affairs, the Coast Guard was sent down here to Guadeloupe with people trying to kill me. They came and drive 150 kilometers and be my neighbor. They stepped out into the house, into my yard. If the French refuse to let them do what they have to do, the extradition kidding. Don't tell me this politics is bloody. And all of these gang things is part of disabling the country for political gain. All of those killing in racial gang. They had no gang violence. It's manipulated violence and conflict.
Okay, well, Carla, I understand. I understand you feel strongly, but you are, in my respectful view, and I say this respectfully, espousing a conspiracy theory with no basis whatsoever, in fact.
Conspiracy, I could bring the letters from
Caller, I am telling you, and I am not. Caller, I listen to you, you listen to me. That's the way we have a conversation, okay? Caller, I listen to you, you listen to me. That's the way we have a conversation. I am saying to you that you are espousing a lot of views here, which sound very much to me to be the stuff of a conspiracy theorist. You're telling me, Caller, just hear me out. I heard you out.
Yeah.
You're telling me, for example, under my watch, according to you, we sent Coast Guard to Guadeloupe after you.
I got the Coast Guard picture on my phone.
Caller, that is, I don't mean to be impolite, but let's not put.
So come and stay by my house and do what's in my yard every night. What would it be? Friends and visitors? You telling me? What think these people have to do with me down here? Blocking blocking all my doors. I cannot walk. I live here for 8 years and I cannot get a walk. And I'm legal. I cannot get a social security card. I cannot get a card for health. What did the French government know have to do about me asking for inquiry into the police force from Amnesty International? Why all of that? You're trying to tell me that I'm stupid?
Caller, nobody suggested you're stupid.
I'm trying to limit this politics like it's something simple.
but it's greater than that. The geopolitical reality has put us in a serious position.
Okay.
We cannot play it down.
Okay. Caller, thank you for your views. I appreciate the call, and certainly we welcome all shades of public opinion, but I do believe that the stuff that you're saying has no resemblance to reality. And I say that with respect. Sometimes we believe fervently what we believe, but when you're going to say Coast Guard left here and came down to Guadeloupe and came after you, what makes you so important you feel that people will go through all that effort in relation to you? And again, I mean no discourtesy, but we are on a large platform here. We have potentially thousands of people who are listening and will listen to this show and the rebroadcast. So what you're saying just doesn't make sense. It's as simple as that. It does not make sense. You're saying that we're being controlled by the CIA from Miami. Again, that does not make sense. People here go out and people are allowed to vote for who they want to vote for and elect who they want to elect. It's as simple as that. We have gang violence here. You're saying all that is politics and political. It does not make sense, caller. So please, not because I've given you the opportunity to say your piece, do not feel that we are accepting what you're saying, because that really is like when people say they see UFO and they see man landing and aliens are coming and that kind of thing. I mean, let us just put that to one side. Again, I don't mean to denigrate, but this is a serious program. Let's have serious discussions when we call in on this program. We have 15 minutes left. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
No, who is in charge of your show?
Who's in charge of the show?
Yes, your show.
I am in charge of the show.
Okay. Well, if somebody call in, you listen to them. I know it's your turn and they call in to you. What did you cut them off? Because that's being disrespectful. You have to take your time, listen to him. You didn't cut him off. Give him more to put him on. Now you're trying to explain to him. You can't explain to him. Just cut him off. That's disrespectful. Let them see that you are the leader, you are in charge of your show, you call the shot. That's not good enough. Don't let them think that they could spin you and turn you. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening, caller. I'm listening.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, caller. I'm grateful for that. And, I try to give people an opportunity. They express themselves. But as I said, this is a show where we encourage dialogue and civil debate. The only way we're going to have a conversation is when you speak, I listen. And then when I speak, you listen. If you're trying to speak over me or I try to speak over you, then we get just, noise. We don't have a conversation. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Caller, could you move away from your radio or computer and just listen to the telephone?
I've done that, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
I heard you play some clips there tonight, and one I speak about, because what I heard, the guy said, I don't think he conscious of what he's saying, and I don't think he know the meaning of revolution. I don't think so. If he had know the meaning, he would not speak about it. And to be short on that, their revolution, you have your back guarded, and so much more for that. No, I'm not using that. Now, health issues. Now, we have a lot of Jamaicans in the Federation. In Jamaica right now, they're having a crisis. You know about it, sir?
Crisis in terms of what, caller?
About the dengue issue?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, I speaking about Nevis. You is the leader. What are you doing, or what you could do to stop, if you could do it, to stop the Jamaicans them from coming to our shore, to coming to Nevis right now? Could you do anything about it?
No.
You personally?
No, I cannot.
Okay, thank you. Now, did you speak I will speak to the Prime Minister about it. It's not that he ain't know, but for safety, somebody will have to say something. So I counting on you to speak to him about it, sir. If you ain't done that, I wish that you could do it.
Okay, caller. Thank you very much. In the ordinary course, just so you know, health and travel protocols would be put in place.
I know. South to cut in there, but I know that the Prime Minister is the Minister of Health. I know that, but I just want to know from you what could be done. You could do, but then you answer me, and I leave that there, sir.
Yeah. All
I
right.
appreciate very much.
Good. Thank you very much for your call. I was just trying to. Okay. Thank you. I was just trying to explain that, insofar as travel is concerned and health and protocols, if of course there's a risk, then the health authorities would respond accordingly. I just got a call, and this person has said they want me to read what they've sent. They say, a message. Honorable Mark Brantley, greetings. I trust that you are well. Sir, I am very troubled and very much appalled over the kind of rhetoric that came from persons associated with the NRP. It is sad and downright a low blow that was delivered by those disrespectful callers, Pastor Tulu and Mr. Barry. Whereas the host was not responsible for what the others uttered, for certain, the host must be held accountable for allowing such rhetoric to go the full course without censorship. This kind of behavior must be decried. That Pastor Tulu Weeks is a disgrace to the cloth and a misrepresentation of good news of Jesus Christ. The police need to, without delay, investigate these matters, put those responsible before the court of law to make them public examples. It cannot be reckless rhetoric as usual. It must stop. Mr. Brantley, God has put you in a position of leadership to serve the people of Nevis and the Federation by extension. Do not be sidetracked by people who have nothing meaningful to contribute to the advancement of our people and country. Have a safe and blessed night, sir. I believe that these are sentiments that are being expressed by persons, and this is someone from overseas in the diaspora who sent this message. Let's go back to the phones. We have 10 minutes left. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello.
No greetings.
Yes, good evening.
And blessed night to your brother Premier.
Blessed
and
night.
Good night to your people who are listening to your program.
Yes.
But I would like to follow up on a caller who called not too long ago, pertaining about a request he asked you to imply on a commission of an inquiry. Well, we would like to say we support the caller there in the article, because we see some damages have done to our people, especially through this political violence. You see? So if you all have real consideration towards our people's life, when they think it's a Nevis, you have to do the right thing. Because those CIA who are working on the eye of these guys, we not fear to talk, you know, because we know the facts around here. And I have a lot of mason around here doing a lot of crap to our young youths them. And when we say mason, we're talking about the Freemasons who align themselves with the Illuminatis. So you better be cautious in that study if you are part of that.
Okay.
You see? So we are saying now, it's time now we get an open investigation against the matter that happened to Ras Zambo Noel Heed. And it's going forward to whoever from the administrative body to the people and the common part of the street. Because we know that death is not no death just comes up. And it's not come out from no result of no gang violence. It's a result of the Masons who want to control things and for their own benefit and characteristic. So you better be cautious, my brethren. And we see it about this here. This is that's how I'm speaking to you tonight, without any fear or favor. So let them come now, because we know we now run nowhere. And we are the ones them who will be the revolutionary to tear down the wall of the wickedness that is on here, corrupting our youth. Them. Have a blessed night. Give down.
All right, thank you very much. And, you know, listen, callers, we hear now about Illuminati, we hear about Freemasons, we hear about conspiracy, we're hearing all of this terminology being thrown around. We have real issues here. And I like to focus on real issues. If there are issues that are being brought, making suggestions of one thing or another, then I like to see the evidence or hear the evidence. People who like to say they're not foolish and they know, that is not evidence. It means you believe something but it doesn't mean that it is so. And so I'm always concerned when people express themselves in that way, because they are seeking to take their belief and elevate it to the position of fact, and that is not the same. I can believe in Santa Claus, for example. It doesn't mean that Santa Claus is real. I can believe in the tooth fairy. It doesn't mean that the tooth fairy is real. So I feel that we just need to sometimes take a step back, no matter how passionate we are about an issue, and recognize that our beliefs, even if strongly held, are not necessarily the fact of the matter. And that to have fact, we must have evidence to support that fact. We have about 7 minutes left. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I am to remind you that tomorrow, Thursday, we have a special sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly to mark the occasion of the 40th anniversary of independence of St. Kitts and Nevis. I believe that this is an important event, and that I'm inviting persons to attend in person if they can, and if they can't attend in person, certainly to tune in and hear that discussion, a very important discussion, a special sitting. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Well, Dan, I really to apologize because I said I was talking over you and it's on okay, anyway. I apologize for that, really, but I want you to join me in asking for a commission inquiry because we had into the Simmons government, into our police force, because you owe it to the people of Nevis and you owe it to the people of St. Kitts. The failure of solving these murders in St. Kitts is too low, and they're suspicious. I know Mr. Brantley run from the police force because of the corruption that was going on there, with this foreign hand involved in running the force. I learned from Mr. Quinlan that in independence we never get control over the police force. After 40 years we have control over the police force now. 10 years ago I heard a news item on the radio saying that the British was handing over control to the CIA in America to equip and train our police. 10 years or more ago. And so when will we get control of our police force as a local government? Tell me, to train and equip. Are we so broke that we have to wait on somebody to train and equip and direct our police?
All right, caller, I hear you, and I hear your concerns, and certainly in relation to the police forces, we do rely on a number of countries that assist us with training, the US, the UK, Canada. Here in the region we do have training as well. We have joint training, regional training. So our police are exposed to a wide variety. I think we've gone as far as Israel for training. We have had training in places like...
But Mr. Brantley,
yes.
Mr. Brantley, excuse me there, please. We have not seen no improvement in the service in St. Kitts because we see still police not providing the service but being on a force. We want to see... you could look at the rate. You could tomorrow study the rate of solve the murder solved and those unsolved, and you see how much families still are waiting for an answer. That is that's a deficiency in the police force.
No, but
a lot of things. One of the things I realized that they're playing with the investigation is with the Zambo. They take up one man who said they shoot Zambo. They say they shoot Brahma. They never take one of them phone and search the phone and see who we link to, because you know we can go to. The police is playing. Inspector Brandy in 2016 made a very telling statement, and it's because our press is so controlled. Nobody pick it up. He said that this Mr. Tidjawalin was sending police to Nevis clandestinely without he, as the Nevis head, knowing anything, and nobody saying that. And there was issues involving those same police there in Nevis, which he didn't speak about. And so these family must what left there without any form of closure to the cases. You are a man who is in position. You should see that we have the answers to all of these things. That's what the people put you there for. It's not just to local thing. We need to get every function, every arm of government functioning properly and in the interest of the people locally, not in the interest of foreign people. So much foreign hands dipping in our part in St. Kitts. And that's the problem. It's dividing and ruling us.
All right. Okay, caller. Thank you very much. I gave you the time to present your case. I don't agree with a lot of what you've said, but I do agree that we need our police to function effectively. We need all of our agencies of government to function effectively. And I do agree with you that there are too many unsolved cases. But I believe you should know, as everybody would know, that the police need the support of the public if they are to solve some of these cases. And a lot of us see and say we don't see, and that has been part of the problem. Let us go to the phones and take this call. Caller, you're on the air.
Good night, Premier Brantley.
Good night to you, brother. You have about 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry I'm so late. Maybe I have to talk to you another time. But Premier Brantley, I am concerned about those statements that you played earlier. But I am also concerned about what this gentleman called in and said recently. And I think you kind of dismiss him as to say, well, he's wrong or he's lying. We don't know whether he's wrong or he's lying. I know that in politics, of course, when you don't support certain party and you're very strong with your views, sometimes you're victimized, Premier Brantley. This is true. Everybody knows that. So I feel that the same way I am concerned about the statements that was made is the same way I would want to listen out and hear what this gentleman is saying, whether there's some truth to it or not. But I wouldn't just dismiss and say he's talking nonsense. Because, Premier Brantley, I can speak many things. I travel many parts of the world. And many people around here don't know some things. And you can't be telling me that we don't know that there's something called Freemason and Illuminati. Because I could go into details. And that they operate in a covert way throughout the entire universe.
Mm-hmm.
Also in St. Kitts Nevis, I said the universe. And these are some of the things that these gentlemen are saying. And so we might want to listen a bit more and hear what these men are saying, whether it has some credence. But we can't just dismiss and say, oh, what he's saying is nonsense, or I don't know whether it's true or not true. I would like to listen some more.
Okay, well, caller, you've had the last word.
Yes.
You would like to listen some more. Perhaps when another occasion you can call in and we can have that conversation.
I will.
Thank you very much for your call. That's our final call for the night. I thank all of those who participated in the show, those who called, those who listened, those who text, those who are on the live. Thank you all very, very much. Tomorrow, we have a special sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly commencing at 10 a.m. Please come out and hear the speeches from the various members as we pay homage to those who would have gone before. Look at our 40 years of independence and look forward with God's blessing and the strength and grace of God to the next 40. This has been our show. The band has struck up. It means we have to go. This program is rebroadcast usually tomorrow at 1 p.m. We hope if you have not listened tonight, you can listen tomorrow. And if you did listen tonight, that it was so nice that you would listen twice. Let us go away from this place collectively, condemning any rhetoric and any element of violence in our politics. Let us condemn it with one voice. And I end with where I've been saying all night. I want and call upon the leader of the NRP to condemn her team for this type of rhetoric. That's our show. Good night and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited.